Hurricane Milton's strength and magnitude have left veteran meteorologists in shock, including John Morales of Miami. Take a look.
Just an incredible hurricane. It has dropped It has dropped 50 millibars in 10 hours. I apologize. This is just horrific.
Morales has guided South Florida through some of the state's strongest ever hurricanes, including Andrew, Irma, Matthew and Maria. He later posted on social media, quote, "Extreme weather driven by global warming has changed me. Frankly, you should be shaken too and demand climate action now." Well, Florida's Gulf Coast is bracing for yet another major hurricane. But it's not just any storm. It's the strongest storm the world has seen so far this year. Hurricane Milton has weakened slightly to a Category 4 strength. But the storm's explosion in size and intensity has been staggering, jumping from a Category 1 all the way to Category 5 in just 24 hours. By the time it makes landfall sometime Wednesday, it should weaken to a Category 3. But that's little comfort for a state still reeling from Hurricane Helene less than 2 weeks ago. Officials are warning Milton's impact will be catastrophic. They're urging everyone in the storm's path to leave as soon as they can, and many have taken that message to heart. Florida's highways have been packed since early Monday. The mayor of Tampa issued a stark warning to those daring to stay behind.
Helene was a wake-up call. This is literally catastrophic. And I can say without any dramatization whatsoever, if you choose to stay in one of those evacuation areas, you're going to die. If this takes a jog to the south, that's going to save us from the storm surge, but it stays on the track that it's projected to be on right now, or if it goes a bit north, would be even worse. So this is something that I have never seen in my life, and I can tell you that anyone who was born and raised in the Tampa Bay area has never seen anything like this before. People need to get out.
Cheryl Hubbard has more on the urgent preparations being made as the hurricane approaches.
In a routine that's become all too familiar, Florida residents are preparing, some by filling sandbags, some evacuating, all doing the best they can to prepare for yet another life-threatening storm. FEMA with a firm warning to those with evacuation orders.
They need to get out.
Some heeding the message. Florida highways were crammed Monday with what state officials expect could be the largest evacuation since 2017's Hurricane Irma. Milton threatened storm surge, rain, and flash flooding. But due to Hurricane Helene's devastation, there's another threat, the potential for flying debris.
We still have a significant amount of debris cleanup to do across the barrier islands to make sure that that doesn't become projectiles in this coming hurricane.
Florida's governor has deployed the National Guard to help assist with debris removal that could cause more damage from Milton's forecasted winds, which got up to 180 miles per hour Monday. The storm is projected to weaken and make landfall as a Category 3 near the Tampa area on Wednesday, packing 120 mile per hour winds. Its dangerous I wall could come ashore anywhere from Cedar Key in the north to Naples in the south.
If they have called for your evacuation order, I beg you, I implore you to evacuate. Drowning deaths due to storm surge are 100% preventable if you leave.
I'm Cheryl Hubbard reporting.
Elliot Jacobson is a climate analyst and retired professor of math and computer science. He joins me now from Santa Barbara in California. Appreciate you being with us.
Well, thanks for having me.
So Hurricane Milton is barreling toward the Florida coast right now. It's one of the top 10 strongest hurricanes ever recorded, the planet's strongest storm this year, now a Category 5. And Milton comes on the heels of the deadly force of Hurricane Helene. Brazil's Amazon region is experiencing its worst drought in 122 years. And we're seeing extreme flooding in West and Central Africa. So how much of all this can be directly linked to climate change?
So there are attribution studies that can try and link any given event to climate change, but we don't want to just go around pointing fingers at events and saying that's climate change, that's climate change. What we know is that climate change is going to make all of these events happen more often. They'll be more intense when they happen, and they'll last longer. And that's what we see over and over. We see more of these extreme events happening, and that is the fingerprint of climate change.
So how should we be responding to this new normal created, for the most part, by climate change? What do we need to be doing right now?
So it's a good question, especially your use of the phrase, the new normal. So what we need to understand is we're just passing through this moment. We don't have any idea of what a new normal will be or where we're headed. It has a lot to do with the sorts of decisions that are made right now, both locally, globally, and in every sort of political environment. So things will get a lot worse than they are now. They will continue to get worse for at least the next 30 to 50 years, pretty much no matter what we do. We have to be thinking of a future for our children and grandchildren right now with the decisions we make. So I just want to say that the new normal, unfortunately, is still a long way off.
So how should nations rebuild after these extreme weather disasters? And also, how should they be building for the future to adjust to the new conditions created and being created by climate change?
Well, one thing to understand is that scientists really do have a good idea of certain parts of the planet that are going to become sort of inhospitable to civilization. And these include certain coastal regions that are going to flood, certain regions that are simply going to get too hot to sustain human life, and certain places that are expected to have massive droughts or massive flooding. So what we need to do is trust the scientists who are identifying these regions and understand that migration is going to be taking place on a global scale. And we have to understand that climate migration will be part of our future, and that allowing our fellow humans to find another home is part of our responsibility. So I think that's the number one thing we need to do, is understand that the climate is being degraded globally and everybody deserves a home.
And we do see this, don't we? Because in flood zones, in areas that are not really habitable anymore, people do just keep rebuilding and trying to live there. At what point, and what is the process of saying this is no longer a habitable region? People need to find an alternative. What is that process?
Well, I think, unfortunately, that humans are very stubborn about this, and we often hear the phrase, well, we're going to rebuild. And you just look at, for example, what's happening in Tampa. They just had a record-breaking 7-foot, well, if you like, 2-meter storm surge, right? That was the all-time record set just 10 days ago. And now we're expecting, with this new hurricane, double that to come into the same region. I mean, what's happening is that we're not going to be able to keep up with the ever-intensifying storms in these regions. So when you ask about what should we do to rebuild, it's not clear at all that we are going to be able to stay ahead of these storms or the rising sea level or the heat or all of these places. It's simply not going to be possible to and I mean, if you even look at what happened in North Carolina, right? One of the climate havens was Asheville. This was an area that was touted as a safe place to move if you were had a climate consciousness, and now that was essentially decimated. So I think we need to understand just how fragile this planet is right now, and that fragility is just going to be increasing.
And in the midst of the hurricane crisis in Florida, far-right Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene doubled down on her conspiracy theory over the weekend, following up a baseless claim that the government can control the weather, with an assertion that such a scheme might involve lasers. So how do you combat the crazy out there when the world is already dealing with the reality of climate change, which is crazy in itself? And what do you say to climate deniers?
Well, I can just put out facts. I cannot fight delusions. I can't fight that sort of insanity. But I mean, just for example, to get a feeling for the scope of what that claim means. For example, Katrina, the power of Katrina was about the same as 3 million Hiroshima atomic bombs worth of energy, right, and worth of destruction. So when you think that we essentially can sort of pull out of somewhere the equivalent of millions of Hiroshima bombs, you know, and direct that energy to create these events is so much beyond nonsense. I don't know how to describe the sort of lack of just basic fundamental understanding of the planet that sort of demonstration of illogic shows. I don't have a remedy for idiocy. I'm sorry, I just don't.
Well, appreciate you trying. Elliot Jacobson, thank you so much for talking with us. Appreciate having you with us.